YOLO. Ain't worried about no FOMO. Coin market cap out the crash on my lap when the bitch bounce back like a pogo. No fiat dough, I got Diddy coin, I got Bitcoin, I got Ether. What y'all know about a pump and dump?
Welcome to R2 Satoshis podcast for the week of February 19th, 2018. So we're just going to jump right in today. We're going to start on a little recap of some of the things that we discussed last week and then move into some of the current crypto-related news out there. So, Billy, we were talking a little bit before the podcast. Last week you had brought up Lisk and went over how you find different cryptocurrencies and how you do some of this catalyst trading, which kind of falls in the bucket there of the swing trading. So you want to give us an update on how Lisk is done since you kind of mentioned that in that article?
Yeah. So if you guys remember for our previous podcast, and if you haven't listened to it, it's a good one. I kind of went over the strategy that we use, or one strategy that we use to essentially time the market. And so I actually gave an example of one to watch using our strategy. It's basically a 2-week hold period at minimum. And so we talked about Lisk, L-I-S-K. They have an event tomorrow. They're kind of completing the rebranding, launching a couple live products. I think there's like a desktop app and then like an actual mobile app. But long story short, if you would have basically followed this strategy and bought in 2 weeks ago, which is a standard for us, you would have bought in around $12. And today, Lisk is right around $30. So in 2 weeks, you would have made a profit of roughly 150%, just from sitting there and just chilling, buying it, not watching the charts, nothing. So, I mean, it does work.
Yeah.
It's not crazy performance. I mean, we've seen bigger, but I mean, that's, if you can keep doing that every 2 weeks, you will be a crypto millionaire.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at the market, how it's been lately. I mean, it's been down. Everybody's been, in a hold mode and
it's choppy.
Yeah, exactly. But that shows you right there that, some of these, that you can still make money in the market.
Exactly.
We were actually talking about this. I don't know if we talked about this on our podcast last week or if it was prior to that, but we were talking about how, in crypto, since, it's 24/7 cycles. I mean, it's nonstop trading, how you get caught up in looking at it on a daily basis, and you see, these small margins of return sometimes. But if you kind of scale that out like a week or two out, you can see that, in that run up to this event, really it's made a return of, 9 times out of 10, in a lot of scenarios, 100% return in that time frame.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to make way more money with way less stress. I mean, you won't get whiplash. Like, it'll drive you to drink. I mean, if you're trying to do some scalping, day trading, whatever, where it's highly technical and it's hair trigger kind of stuff, I mean, you need the best software, 13 screens, no other job. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely like that in this market. I mean, you can trade it nonstop daily, so it's not like stocks where, if you don't have special trading software or special licenses, it doesn't cut off at 5 p.m. This is
exactly.
I mean, we've talked about this numerous times about waiting on 8, 9 o'clock at night for, Asia to wake up to start bumping the price of something. So yeah, this is definitely a less stressful way of trading based on these catalyst events and knowing, approximate time frames of when you're going to get in and get out.
Yeah, on that same thought, actually came across I wanted to mention another website that we use, because there are many websites that have these calendars. So it's always best to have, a whole slew of resources. So the one I'm looking at today is CoinMarketCal, CAL.com. I like this one because the actual events are essentially verified by the community. So basically the community votes on these events. So you can see like below the title and the description, it'll say like 98%, like 454 votes. So that it's not some random dude saying, yeah, this thing's going to happen. like actually gives you like a resource link. You see how many votes there are to solidify that event. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, it looks like, I'm just coming across the site now that you're telling us this. I mean, it definitely looks like there's a lot more of events provided on here, though. Like the first one I'm looking at for Verge is a Q&A with Justin Vendetta. I'm assuming that he is, part of the Verge team. I'm not a big Verge guy, but just grabbing that as the first one on there. So, I mean, definitely if you're going to use something like this, pick and choose what the events are, make sure that it is a catalyst that actually is going to make some sense there, or some type of return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually I was looking at one that caught my eye because I was browsing through page after page after page for 2 weeks from today. Because it's almost that time to start picking out our next investment, at least my next investment, because we're kind of waiting on CIS to do its thing this month with their mainnet release. But I was looking at Cardano, which has been pretty popular lately. I mean, it ran up, hundreds, if not thousands of percent in the past couple months. But they actually have a catalyst coming up on March 5th. They're going to be basically introducing a new roadmap, which typically gets a lot of like a big reaction. So I think right now it's around 39 cents. So if I was going to speculate, I would say we can probably see a 50% move in the next 2 weeks, if not more. And that's just based on what I've seen in the past from these kinds of events. I mean, it could be 100%, it could be 10%.
Could be 0.
it could go down. But if I was a gambling man, which I am, I think we'll see probably around a 50% return in 2 weeks.
Well, either way, I mean, it's whether it does get a 0% or 100%, whatever the return is. I mean, basing it off these type of events like this is usually a safer bet than just getting into something and just guessing that it's gonna launch based on what one person posted in a Facebook group or on a Reddit subreddit.
Exactly, and it's like I just want to be like transparent here. It doesn't work every single time. Nothing does. But in my 10 years of investing in general, this has been the most successful strategy I've ever deployed. Like this is a culmination of those 10 years of research, trial and error.
Yep.
So I mean, give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, we can, we're actually we can just kind of segue into this a little bit, but you look at like Litecoin, and we discussed this on the last podcast, talking about how LitePay was going to be released here in this month, February. And since then, Litecoin has seen, could be more by now, but, when I jotted on these notes and did an analysis, about a 30% rise since LitePay was announced. So that's, that shows you right there, when major events like this are, announced, and it's not just crappy media marketing that some of these coins do, that generally you do get some type of uptick there.
Exactly.
And on that topic there of Litecoin, not only was it LitePay that was announced, but what we're going to kind of dive in today, and I wrote a small article just on the technical details of this today and put it on CryptoFizz, but yesterday, Litecoin, there was a fork off the Litecoin network, and it created a new coin called Litecoin Cash. So this split actually happened yesterday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and it was block number 1,371,111 where it occurred. So if you have, Litecoin, if you're a holder and you have it stored in a place where you'll get, you'll get credited for that Litecoin Cash, it's a 10-to-1 Litecoin Cash to every Litecoin that you have.
That's so pretty awesome.
It is
1-to-1.
Yeah, I mean, well, to me, that doesn't really make a difference to me, because if it was 1-to-1, then that would tell me right there that the circulating quantity of coins out there is going to be equal to whatever Litecoin is. So it just looks like to me like if you're going to get 10-to-1, then there's going to be 10 times that many Litecoin Cash circulating out there that there are of Litecoin. Sure. But yeah, I mean, there's been a ton of pushback on it. A lot of people claiming it's a scam. Some people claiming that they think it's a joke, that people are claiming that it's a scam. Where do you kind of stand on this, Billy?
It just sounds like some small group is trying to be, for one, they're kind of stealing that brand. right? It's like they aren't really a part of the official like foundation. Like they aren't actually affiliated with Litecoin.
Oh yeah, Charlie
Uh,
Lee said it was a scam.
yeah, so it's like I can't really get behind that.
Yeah.
But I mean, from a technical standpoint, I saw something about the fees would be like 90% cheaper than Litecoin,
Yeah,
which is
that was their
which is
goal. Yeah.
attractive.
Yep. And
Um,
2.5 times the block um, speed that Bitcoin is. Well, 2.5 minutes is going to be the block speed, the goal of the block speed, which is 4 times what Bitcoin is,
mhm.
4 times
Well,
faster.
something else I saw too that people were actually pretty excited about was so it's a proof of work. So it's using the SHA-256 algorithm,
Hmm.
which means that you can actually mine it with like GPUs. You don't have to have any kind of special hardware. So you might be able to make some money from this.
Yeah, because the Litecoin is the script algorithm, so it's a
Hmm.
different algorithm than the SHA-256 there. So yeah, it's currently trading on Yobit, and I read, and I put this in my article as well, that it's supposed to be trading on Trade Satoshi and then Mercatox as well, but it doesn't look like they've picked it up yet, so it's just on Yobit. And I know I wrote the article earlier, Billy, and it was trading at about $5 at that point, which was
Hmm.
up something like I don't even remember what the number was. It was initially trading in the under $1, so it was up
Yeah.
to like 500 or 600%. Or no, it
Mhm.
it was up 400% at that time. And we just checked it not too long ago, and it was up to about $10 in that time frame. I'm going to check it right now while we're on this podcast and just give it an accurate number. So it's at $7.36 right now, coin, which is 483% up from what it initially hit the market today.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if you're a Litecoin holder and you can get this, I would just say I would caution you and make sure that you do it. You know, you research it before you give anybody your private keys or anything, because there is potential that these are scams and that they could get into your current wallet and take the coins that you hold, in some form or some way. So before
Hmm.
you just go out claiming them all happy thinking it's free money, make sure you definitely do your due diligence and your research there.
Facts.
So, and actually, it's funny. I had bought Litecoin for the first time about 2 weeks ago based on the LightPay announcement. So if this
Hmm.
does turn out to be something good,
I
even if it's
mean,
not something good, if it's something that, me as an investor can make a profit on, then, hey, I'm happy.
exactly.
I
So
don't, I
I
don't need
mean,
to, I don't need to agree with all the underlying technology as long as it's legit to make a return on my investment. Doesn't mean I'm gonna hold it forever, but, you know.
exactly. Yep, and I still don't have any Litecoin because I'm dumb. So,
Yeah, well, you're big in CIS for their announcement this month, and then I know we were
hmm,
talking about fun as well, which been talking about for the last 2 months.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so on that, along those lines, there, did you see? We talked about this on the last podcast about how the U.S. luge team, Olympic team, was going to start accepting donations from Bitcoin. Did you see that the speed skater from Canada, Billy?
Yeah, I came across that. So yeah, he's the first Olympic athlete to be paid in cryptocurrency. And basically what it is what I saw, it's a sponsorship deal with two separate companies. One's OnG Social and the other one's Seek VR, virtual reality company. So I checked it out. I checked out OnG Social, which is actually a token. It's on coinmarketcap.com, and it's a tiny company right now, a tiny project. It's like a $6.3 million market cap.
Oh wow,
Tiny,
that would be one of
tiny
the
volume.
lowest market caps that I've seen, I think.
Yeah, like the volume was like $1,000. Crazy. Like nobody even knows about this thing, so that might be a nice dark horse. But yeah, his name was Ted Jan Bloman, something along those lines. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but
I hope you are.
yeah.
He actually won the silver the other day in the 5,000 meters speed skating.
Nice.
Yeah, so, and they said that on the social network, he's actually documenting all along the way while he's there. And, um, and wow, I almost said Sochi, there for a second. That's like Olympics like 8 years ago.
It all runs together.
What is it, Pyongyang? Is that?
Yeah.
Did you see? Do you see where like Fox 5 News or something like that, or like NBC News? They had the graphic up behind the broadcaster of Pyeongchang 2018, except it didn't say Pyeongchang, it said PF Chang 2018.
Same thing.
Yeah, it makes sense. Whatever. We'll throw it up there. That was funny. But anyways, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty cool that an athlete. We had actually talked a little bit about this. You know, we're idea people, and I actually remember a couple of months ago I actually wrote an email to Mark Cuban, and he did respond. But talking about the potential of this was before this happened. Talking about the potential of putting like player contracts and player payments like on the blockchain. And the reason that I had brought that up is because I remember, I forget who it was, but there was I'm a big soccer fan, and there was some soccer player that was supposed to go from like, I want to say it's like Italy to like Russia to play. He was being transferred to another team, but there was an issue with what currency he was going to get paid in, and I think the transfer actually fell through. And I was saying, well, why don't they just figure out a way to pay them in cryptocurrency? That way you don't have those cross-border issues or whatever. So maybe this is the start of something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to be the last person. I know that. Like, that's going to be way more typical in the coming years. Like 4 years from now, that's going to be probably all over the place.
Yeah, and it's going to happen, in my mind, based on, you know, different countries, states here in the U.S., et cetera, you know, changing some of the laws and actually trying to find some ways to, like, regulate crypto. And, you know, like, we were talking about this earlier, how Wyoming is trying to pass through some laws now that actually exempt ICOs from securities laws. So basically, if they're not an investment and it's not advertised as just an investment and it's exchangeable for goods. So did you check that out?
Yeah, I was reading about that. I mean, so kind of like the bigger takeaway for me was, you know, each state and each country respectively, they're all trying to find their own way of dealing with crypto without stifling the innovation. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, this is more tax revenue for them. If they can find a way to kind of handle this thing with like kid gloves and still get a piece of the pie, they're going to do it. But yeah, so I mean, Wyoming specifically was, I think there's like 3 or 4 different bills that they just went through the committee, and it's going to, I guess, the House for a vote. But very crypto friendly. There was one company that just opened up shop because of the very crypto-friendly stance that Wyoming currently has. Block Crusher Labs, which I haven't done much research on. I want to get to that, but the CEO basically said, you know, Wyoming's one of the best places in the U.S. to do business. There's low startup costs. It's a really business-friendly tax system. So I don't know. I guess for them, I'm curious to see if Wyoming's going to be like this new tech hub for crypto, you know, crypto-related startups because of this. So it's going to be a fun place to watch as well.
It's funny to me that, I mean, it's Republicans that run the state and Republicans that are passing through something like this, and you know, I didn't delve too much into this, but I've read that Coinbase has had some issues in the past in Wyoming based on some of their laws. So it looks like that's where they're looking at change that, and they're looking at, you know, exempting cryptos from their money transmitter laws. So, hey, it's exciting. Last week we covered Arizona, where Arizona is looking at passing a bill through to actually be able to pay your taxes with crypto. So,
yeah,
good positive news coming out.
They're smart. I mean, look, it's going to get regulated one way or the other. So to see them taking a more crypto-friendly stance is totally fine by me. Because more regulation is going to bring in more. I mean, it's going to essentially give a lot more people comfort to jump into this system, the cryptocurrency market in general, because there is some kind of structure, some kind of regulation. So I'm all about it.
Well, and we've talked about this for the last, year or more, talking about, potentially Bitcoin ETFs and other crypto ETFs. So it's like these types of things just open it up for that. I think JP Morgan even came out, couldn't believe it the other day, and said that Bitcoin ETFs are like the holy grail. Like it's something that, that they want to get into. So, so this type of stuff just opens it up for that. And, not only here in the States, but we also kind of discussed and came across where Gibraltar, where they are actually, building out rules now for ICOs, and they may become like a crypto country, basically.
Yeah. I saw that they're, well, it's a big deal because they're the first country to basically introduce regulations that are created specifically for ICOs. Like that's like the big differentiator. So for example, like the US has essentially said that ICOs are like securities. They're basically saying, here, you fit in this box, and we're going to deal with you that way. And so Gibraltar is basically saying, nah, it's not really the best approach. We're going to create something from scratch for this particular use case. So very promising. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't even know, how they can move so much faster. I mean, we're in a bubble here in the U.S., so we see how some of our politics works here and how they can't even pass a bill, that everybody agrees on. But, it's like, what's the return Gibraltar's getting there? Are more ICOs going to be registered in their country? Is that, is that the tax? Hell, I don't even know how taxes work in Gibraltar. So,
exactly. I don't even know what size Gibraltar is. It could be 25 people. I don't even know.
But yeah,
I don't know where Gibraltar is.
So they're basically with these rules they're going to come out with. It's going to be rules based on ways that ICOs can advertise, how they define their profits, how they disseminate information. And then actually one of the articles that I read about was talking, they used BitConnect as an example there of, BitConnect they didn't explain to their customers how they actually generated their profits. And that's something that Gibraltar wants to, with these rules and regulations they want to make is you have to explain how you're generating your profits and how you're generating your revenue to people that are going to, buy in, and if your ICO is going to be legitimate or not.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. I would love to know how my investment's making my money.
Exactly.
It's like, what are you actually doing?
Well, and that goes back, we talked about this on a podcast, one of our podcasts a few back, but how, I have the personal opinion we can't invest in ICOs here in the U.S., but if you are an investor in an ICO, my personal opinion is, don't invest in anything that doesn't have at least an MVP, a minimum viable product. Yeah. Why would you want to invest in something that they can't even tell you if they're going to be able to do what you're investing in for 4 years down the road,
Exactly.
Like,
you're paying for a piece of paper that's just that, a piece of paper.
We could write up a white paper right now on this podcast and throw it up there.
Exactly.
So,
Bitcoin. 2019.
Busies. So that's kind of the main news. Was there anything else you wanted to cover on that news front before we kind of dive into kind of some of the last components that we wanted to talk about?
I kind of came across a cool tool. We talked about this breefly before we started recording, but this tool called Bitfract, Bitfract, bitfract.com. And basically what they do is they're leveraging Shapeshift, the exchange service, to create this portfolio builder. So you can essentially use like market cap size, volume, all these different metrics to create a portfolio. Then you can back test that portfolio that you've built for performance to see how it would have done, which ironically is a tool that we actually talked about building internally. So that's kind of cool and sucks. But yeah, so it's currently beta right now, and they're only taking, you can sign up for the beta release. So like it's still not public yet.
Well, I'm definitely going to check that out, but I will say on the front there of them developing it before us, we've probably come up with 1,000 different ideas that we have in the docket right now. We just need to figure out which ones we need to do. So.
Exactly. Yeah, stock twist. They weren't doing crypto yet. And I remember distinctly, we should make like a stock twits for crypto. A week later.
Stock twits is crypto.
Son of a bitch.
Well, so that is the main news that we wanted to cover this week on today's podcast. We wanted to just dive in and talk about two other items. I wrote an article last week about this, just kind of helping announce it. But so Brave browser and basic attention token just released last week a referral program. So if you don't know, we at CryptoFizz, we are verified publishers on the Basic Attention Token and Brave network. We love what they're trying to do. And they are now offering a referral program where if trying to get new users onto the Brave browser. So if you don't know a lot about this, and I have one question that I want to pose to Brendan Eich, the CEO of Brave. He's the guy that created JavaScript, the former CEO and founder of Firefox. But you know how big Firefox blew up until Chrome came along. The question I really would like to ask Brendan Eich is, when was that tipping point? When was that moment that Firefox went from being just, this I don't know what the right term is, this browser, this brand new browser that they built, essentially, this freeware, shareware, I mean, that's not really the right term here, but when was the tipping point that went from being just early adopters to actually mainstream? And how close is Brave to getting to that level? Because I know they've got over 10 million users on it now.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question.
Yeah.
Like was it like one event, like one catalyst that took off, or was it just like this gradual expansion?
Exactly. Because Simon Sinek. If you haven't ever looked up Simon Sinek, go check him out on YouTube. He's awesome. He's a great public speaker, and he's in the tech realm. And he talks about that as, I might have fudged the numbers here, but I think it's like the first 10 to 13% are the early adopters, and then to get to mainstream, they call that actually crossing the chasm. You've crossed the chasm once you've went from early adopters to mainstream movement, which is like, 50% of the people there, and I would like to know when Firefox crossed that chasm and how close is Brave to it, because we've talked about this. We love the browser. It's awesome. But I don't know. That would be some good food for thought there. If you want to check out the Brave browser and want to help us out, you can download it for free. There will be a link right underneath this podcast. You can go there. You can download the browser for free, 100% for free. It will never charge you a dime. And by doing that, you can actually support us, because we'll get paid $5 for everybody that jumps onto the browser. And we don't have any sponsorship here at CryptoFizz. We don't have any ads or anything like that. So any little bit will help there to keep us keep this site up and running.
Hat in hand. We don't do it often.
Exactly.
It's just screw supporting us. It's just a better product.
Exactly.
That's why you should do it.
I know I use it religiously, and I think I posted this in the article that just using it here on my phone. Let me pull it up right here now. It has, in the little bit of time I've been using it, it's blocked 19.4 thousand trackers, 8,000 ads, and has saved me an estimated 22 minutes of load time on my phone. And now, you may say, 22 minutes, that's not a lot, and everything that's blocked, or maybe you think 20 minutes is a lot. But the key part of that is the time that it's saved in loading these pages, and you don't even got to worry about the ads and the trackers. That's one thing. But just the time that it saved on my mobile device, it saved battery life in that time frame. And data.
It doesn't sound like much in the abstract, but once you actually use it and notice those milliseconds, how faster it is, it's huge.
Yeah.
Try it out. You'll see.
I mentioned this in my article, but when I took, different internet programming classes in college, they said that it's on average, the average user only wants to wait 3 seconds for a page to load nowadays. Now that was 8 years ago when I took those classes, so hell, it could be
1 second now.
second and a half now, but
that's my mark.
Right there. If you're tired of pages loading, slow.
Turn into a Hulk.
Check out Brave. So that's that one part there that we wanted to cover. And then just the last piece to close out this podcast is, if you haven't checked out CryptoFizz lately, over the last 4 or 5 days, we've gone and had a makeover. So Billy, I'm going to let you kind of touch on this because you're our graphics guy. You're a UI guy. You like the look and feel of things. So just kind of, what do you think of the new site? I mean, you were the one that picked out the template and helped design it and everything. What are your thoughts?
Dude, I'm so in love with this site now. I just like, it's like a newborn baby. I just like looking at it, just staring at it, clicking around. It's so ridiculous, but it's true. I mean, it's totally different. Like bigger images, bolder headlines.
We don't look like Craigslist.
We don't look like Craigslist anymore. Like the orange isn't everywhere anymore. Like we look like $1 billion company now, So it's really, really cool. I couldn't be happier with what we're doing. We're still making small improvements, but yeah, I love it. It's the best thing we've ever done.
Well, I would say we're probably only, even with the site as good as it looks right now, we're probably only 10% of the way there, because there are so many additions that we've talked about that we're going to be doing here in the future. We're going to have merchandising on there, which we have announcements for that to come, because that's going to be a pretty big one right there. But we have other things, going on with the site, and we're still kind of building it out. But check it out. Give us some support, guys, just by viewing the page. We don't ask for anything else. We don't ask for any payment, nothing like that. Other than what I said earlier about the Brave browser downloading it. But that's a side note. So that's pretty much it for today. Billy, I'm going to let you close out the podcast today if there's anything else that you wanted to just kind of touch on, and then we'll take it away.
Yeah, so I just want to start off by saying, thanks for listening. Thanks for reviewing. We haven't had much feedback on, anything really. So I would love some feedback from anybody, like if we're doing awesome, if we suck, what kind of merch they would like. Do you want hats? I've also been toying around with giveaways maybe. So yeah, lots of questions, but I'm craving the feedback, guys.
Oh, actually, I didn't mention this. Talking about feedback right there, we on our site, this is brand new as well. At the bottom right, you can find this. There's two little chat bubbles, but we actually just started a Discord server. So we've had a Facebook group for months and months and months of just like 20 or 30 of our friends just talking about trading and stuff. But we wanted to kind of get away from that and open it up for a bigger community, which could help provide some feedback for us on various things, and even, hell, we might even have community members on our podcast in the future. But join our Discord server. Jump in there. Everybody's doing it. I mean, we're in there because we can now access like Funfair and other coins that have Discord servers and stuff. So check ours out. Jump in there. It's just a free knowledge share between us. You can comment on our articles. We can talk about various coins. You can share knowledge with us. Give us information on stuff that you'd like us to write about, etc. So definitely check out the Discord server. We're sitting in there and chatting away, and just welcome anybody else that wants to join. Exactly.
Yeah. On a separate note, but a closing note, I just want to remind everybody to keep watching CIS. If you don't have any yet, you can still get in. They're going to be launching their mainnet product by the end of this month. Still a pretty quiet community so far, so it's still early. In the next couple of days, I will be publishing an article on something else that I'm watching, which I will not name right now. You just have to check our site to find it. But yeah. Anything else, Justin?
Nope, that's it.
Cool.
Love you guys for listening to us. Check out our podcast weekly, and we're going to do another special podcast this week like we did last week, probably on Thursday, Friday time frame. But anyways, check it out. Love you guys. Later.
Peace.
She don't know, I got a master know. Even my son told me about the dip, ain't talking about what you put on potato chips. Even my son told me about the dip, ain't talking about what you put on potato chips. I buy the dip, dipping. I buy the dip, dipping. I buy the dip, dipping.